Hello everyone, today we're going to be reviewing this headphone. This is the Rode NTH-100. It is a pretty competitive studio headphone that Rode came out with about 3 years ago. It was released on March 2022. It has been slightly more of an underground option that I sincerely really like and I wanted to talk about because I was surprised by this headphone. Rode already comes out with great stuff, but you hear a lot about it, you want to try it out, so let's get to it. So let's start off talking about the build quality. The build quality on this headphone is really good. It's made completely out of metal with not a lot of plastic to speak of. The hinges are made out of metal, as you may see right here. The ear cups themselves are metal. It doesn't weigh that much. It weighs a fair bit, but it's not as heavy as something like my Neumann NDH20s. It weighs a fair bit and it feels good in the hand. Some people have complained that there has been some quality control stuff around these, I'm pretty sure, which are the mechanism in which you expand the headphone to make it bigger or smaller. Well, that has not been a thing that I noticed or I was even a little concerned about. It's also the cable. You see, the cable right here extends to its maximum capability, and while it does feel like the build quality is pretty good, I do feel like I just might snap this because it does extend all the way inside, unlike the way that it works on the GT770s where there is a little tiny cable and then it goes into the hinge itself. Otherwise, the ear cups are really good. They're comfortable as hell, and I'm gonna go into that later. And otherwise, the build quality on these is very competitive. The headband on top feels incredibly comfortable and doesn't feel cheap whatsoever. The whole thing is made out of metal. Rode doesn't cheap out on materials most of the time, so this is just amazing. As you'd expect from a Rode product at this price point, which is around 150 bucks. Now, when it comes to the price point, this headphone is right in the middle of the mix. It is priced the same as the Audio-Technica M50X, priced the same as around the DT770-990 range of 150 bucks. And for that price point, you are getting what you're paying for. You're getting a really nice build quality, you're getting a good sound quality, and of course, you're getting the very infamous Rode warranty. Now, in the package, you just get the headphone, you get the cable for it, and as well, you get this really nice looking pouch. I like it. I think it's really cool. I mean, I would not trust this to protect my headphone if I'm going to take it out for travel on an airplane, but generally speaking, I would say it's more than enough. Now, the ear pads themselves are incredibly well cushioned, and I don't know what's this material called. Is this velour? Is this what they call velour? I don't know what the material is exactly, but I really like it. And they are deep enough where your ears are not going to be hitting the inside, so if that's a concern like it was for me with the M50X and with the DT770s and 990s, then no, your ears are not going to touch the drivers whatsoever. It does look a little silly on me on this little demonstration, but hey, it's comfortable. So moving on to comfort, as I just explained, it is incredibly comfortable. This headphone is as comfortable as it gets, in my opinion. The earpads on this headphone have this like cooling technology thing. I don't know what they call it. Probably gonna leave it somewhere here or here. But they have a thing where once you wear the headphone, within the first 5 to 10 seconds, you're gonna notice that the earpads themselves are getting really cold. And this is just really cool. And honestly, I love this feature because most studio headphones, and I mean most of them, the ones I've tried, just get incredibly hot incredibly quick. And don't get me wrong, you are gonna sweat with this one, because another thing is the earpads are also, while very comfortable, they kind of take the shape of an ear. They're not circular and they're also not oval. They kind of take the shape of your ear and they sit there tightly, and while it is, as I described, incredibly comfortable, I would still say that I wish they were a little bit bigger, but otherwise they fit well and they're great. The comfort is just amazing. You don't feel any of the weight on top. You don't feel a high clamping force, which is a beautiful thing. The clamping force is a little bit higher than the two other models, the M50X and the DT770s. I don't know why I'm comparing it with these. I'm probably gonna make a whole video comparing them together. But the clamping force may seem a little bit high to some people, but after a little while, I got used to them, especially with the glasses. Right when I first started putting them on, the whole glasses thing was a bit of an issue. It no longer is, thankfully, so it's good now. It's wonderful. So when it comes to the comfort, 9 out of 10, 0 complaints. Build quality, also 9 out of 10, no complaints. Here's where this gets quite, I would say, characteristic. When it comes to the sound quality, Rode has gone for something that is fascinating, and for a lot of people that I would know, it is a pretty comfortable frequency response. Now, I'm not going to go as far as to say it is neutral or even detailed. Now, it is fairly neutral, but it's not incredibly detailed. It doesn't have any kind of V shape to it. Most frequencies beyond the 8 to 10 kilohertz have a quick, powerful slope down instead of a quick highway up like they are on the 770s and the M50X. That said, the hi-hats, those little details, the nuances in the voice, the grits, all of these things are incredibly recessed on this headphone. Now, that is not a bad thing to me, But if you are looking for something to use for mixing, I would not recommend these headphones for that application unless you're just doing like this lo-fi stuff, because as I said, most frequencies in the high treble range are completely gone. And I personally don't mind at all. I personally don't mind that at all, but some people do. The bass extension doesn't go very, very, very deep, but it does go pretty well and it is pretty consistent. I don't notice any bumps or any raises within, let's say, the high bass like it is on the M50X. It is pretty flat in the bass response, and personally, I quite like that. The mids are not very forward as well. They're quite flat and they're quite nice to listen to. And this is why I say that this headphone probably has the most comfortable frequency response that I've probably ever heard. I don't know what exactly Rode is doing, but something about the design of this headphone and something about the frequency response makes it such that I can listen to music or audio or whatever I want to listen to on this headphone at almost any volume level I can think of without worrying that it's going to get too loud or too piercing or a little sharp. There's not that many peaks and dips, and I certainly love that. And while, as I said, this is a pretty interesting and stylistic choice, because a lot of people, when they want to record vocals, hell, even when I want to record voiceovers and things with extra character, I would like to hear the extra nuances, the little characteristics that I personally add, and those are not that present here. On the other hand, that does mean that it's never gonna get sharp. While some gaming headphones have the feature of taking out a bunch of the top end, and you might be like, well, what is so special about this? It is the consistency of the sound in this headphone, of how flat it is, of how neutral and non-painful and so comfortable it is something that I really, really admire and I really appreciate. And honestly, the comfort levels on this headphone are also something to be very, very proud of. See, this headphone is the one I find myself reaching for whenever I just want to do practically anything, as I said, mixing, or has a lot of detail, or has a lot of things I want to notice, or that kind of stuff. In every other situation, including monitoring most of the time, I find myself reaching for these headphones. They're comfortable, the clamping force is not that high, my ears do not touch the drivers, it is so wonderful to listen to, and it just makes a very comfortable, soothing feeling. Now, don't get me wrong, there is some details above the 10 kilohertz. It doesn't just dip immediately straight down, that would be dangerous, but it is a far cry from what is essentially the DT770 and 990. So overall, I would highly recommend these headphones to anyone who's looking for a studio headphone, something to monitor with, something for a podcast perhaps. I think that's a great application for it, and something to listen to casual stuff, especially if you have a slightly sensitive ear like myself. The treble range will never ever hurt you again, but keep in mind, if you do decide to buy something like this and invest something like this, then in the future, when you do decide to listen to stuff with other headphones that may have a lot more treble, they're gonna get really painful really quick. That's in my experience at least. Overall though, beautiful headphone, lovely sound, very comfortable. The build quality is quite good, and while I did see that some people complained that it had some cracks, some issues, you can see that in the Amazon reviews, because this is for some reason rated at 4 stars. I would give it a lot more than that. I personally haven't faced any of these. Anyway, that's gonna be my review of this headphone. It's kind of short and sweet, but I just love it a lot and I don't have many complaints about it. Many of Rode's products do go in this category where they're just good. There's no complaints, there's no issues. Now, they may not compete with things like Neumann's or high-end Sennheisers and all this stuff. They do their job incredibly well and they're satisfactory and they're neat. All right. Anyway, that's gonna be my review of this headphone. I said that before. I'm gonna have links in the description if you do decide to buy this headphone, and if you do decide to buy it through those links, I'll get a small commission and I'll appreciate you forever. Take good care of yourself. Let me know how this video looks. I'm trying out new lights and stuff, and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.